Good morning, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies for this week with today's Monday's Musings. I've just put my phone to one side, I've emptied my pockets, I've laid everything out in front of me to really look at what's going on and to avoid any distractions. For me this week, particularly this weekend, let's really hone in. The last 24 hours, there have been some, I feel like I have to pull my big girl pants up. There have been some monumental triggers. I have a collection of stones that I've, and sacred objects that I've collected over the years with my own training and healing and the Moon Key. And I formed them into a medicine bundle. And I saw a post from a dear friend that was washing her her medicine bundle. And I just thought, I haven't washed mine for a long time. Now, the medicine bundle represents myself and how I hold together all these skills and all these tools. And, you know, if there's any healing required by people or certain situations, I'll often put it into my medicine bundle or light and pray with that energy. So I took a leaf out of my friend's book and I decided to wash my own medicine bundle cloths yesterday. And yes, it could be coincidental, but it doesn't feel like it. You know, washing the inner and outer worlds of myself that was holding all of this together at the same time as receiving some monumental triggers. And I mean, right down to a cellular energetic core, to this feeling of not wanting to be around those energies, of not feeling safe. And when that happens for me, I know there's a big shift coming. I know that I no longer feel safe in who I am, and I can really take that on board and go within and have a look and see what's going on. And I've done that, and that's why this video is a bit late. I've respected the process. I've took some time out knowing that if I'm to film something, you know, if I'm to look into the energies this week, A, it will happen in its own timing. And B, it will happen from a point where it's not just my projection. That's not to say that my projection won't be out of it, but that hopefully I will be more aware of it, like us all in life, and that it won't be based solidly on that. And it was that's been really triggering me the last 24 hours in particular. The projection of people's journey, or at least my own perception of that onto me. And how I'm at a point where I'm just not fucking taking it anymore. Which is quite profound for me, and it's brought up a lot of inner child, a lot of past relationship stuff, a lot of real to the core vibrational things that need shifting. Now, the reason that I bring this up, along with the emptying of my pockets and the silencing of distractions, I took time out this morning to really feel into what was occurring, to really have a good hard look and to vent, but in creative ways. And for me, that came through an Instagram post related to how I felt. But they weren't directed to any person in particular. They were an expression of how I felt. And that feels like key this week. If we're going to really shift some of the energy that's been held in our body as a skill, as the skill that it is, it's about being able to express without directly relating them to others, owning these responses, this emotional intelligence, or not, because of course this is my trigger. So your own individual, unique pushing points will come up for you this week. And to really look into them and to really see what is going on for you. So for me, it's how do I express the frustration, the pain, the re-emergence of things that I haven't healed. How do I express that in a way where I don't make it about others and I take on board that responsibility myself, because we're all a reflection at the end of the day, right? Going deeper into the process, I can see my own, not limitations, my own potentials there. If I can just examine what is going on and find a way that helps me do that in a safe, fun environment. One of the things I've pulled out of my pocket today, one of the crystals I've actually been drawn to, is pyrite. And all I kept hearing was fool's gold, fool's gold. Not all that sparkles, not all that glitters is gold, fool's gold. And we can really, really dig deep, and we can think, because we've dug very, very deep, because we've, resubmerged with all this pain and all this coming out of our body, that we've done the work. And actually, it may not be the case this week. One, we may not need to dig as deep. Two, really ensuring that what we're retrieving is gold, what we're retrieving is valuable, or is it an illusion? Is it something sparkly that's taken our interest away from what it is we were trying to do in the first place? So I really feel that with this video, so I'm not going to spend too long going into the meaning of things, which feels quite appropriate because I've been drawn to 3 sets of cards. The Radiant Rider-Waite, which is the original deck, and there feels a nice simplicity with that. The Christ Consciousness by Amanda Ellis, the Self-Mastery Oracle, and I felt quite a block towards that. First, because I didn't know what the cards meant, but also I felt like I was being guided to placate this almost like sacred anger that's coming up, and that really isn't the case. I'm not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is to find the gold in the shit underneath it all, to really go into it, to, we really don't use our energy well when we make a situation about someone else. If we can bring it back to ourselves, why am I feeling this? What is happening? What is rising to the surface for me? What are the treasures that I can gain from this? It becomes a lot more empowering. And the other deck that I've been guided to use are I don't know because they're all upside down. Let's have a look. The Mystical Shaman Oracle. Now, I knew they were shamanic cards. I knew they were a shamanic energy, which feels quite important as well. To know that this searching that is going on, this all these situations that are coming to the surface to be seen are more on a embodied, we've just had that new Virgo moon, more on a shamanic applicable level. It's one thing to find the gold. What are we going to spend it on? And I say that because I know that Mercury is no longer going backwards, and it can be like, yes, we're out of Mercury retrograde period. But actually, Mercury retrograde most of the time gives us a chance to really go in and sense what is occurring. And when it starts to move forward, it's like, so what are you going to do about it? If anything. But knowing that actually, now that you're aware of it, things are naturally going to start to shift anyway. And that could be all the digging that's required. It's going to be individual for each other and for ourselves this week. So is there anything else? So I took time out. I made sure I knew where I was coming from first, particularly in relationships this week. It feels like there's almost, I don't think anything's going on in Gemini, but it feels quite spaghetti junction. It feels like there could be quite a bit of confusion there. And I feel it under here and my parathyroid and all my glands all around here. And it feels like an inflammatory response to what is occurring. Taking time out, stepping back, seeing what is going on for you first, finding a creative way to express that isn't an actual projection, but is a way of just saying, this is where I am, this is what's going on for me, meet me there. It's not because of da 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 da, it's this, whatever this may be. Okay, so is there anything else? It feels like if we can take a step back this week and just see where it is we're coming from, everything can be a lot clearer and a lot more straightforward. How do we know what is occurring around us if we do not know what is occurring within? And, over the next few years, this is going to be more pivotal than it's ever been. We are all trackers. We all feel things. We all read energy. We all sense things. We are all empaths. It's not a gift that is for a certain type of person or a certain type of situation. We all have the ability to feel. It's a survival instinct. When we know that something is off, when we know that something isn't quite right, when we're feeling happy, when we're feeling safe, these are all basic instincts in the human species. And over the next few years, it's not as if they're going to go backwards, but they're going to become more readily available. They're going to become more commonplace. Spirituality, healing, energy work, shamanism is all going to become more commonplace for the connection that it is to the earth and to each other. So we must be aware of what's going on for ourselves. We must be aware of what it is we need. We must be aware of how we are reacting or re-enacting the situation. Yesterday when I was incredibly triggered, actually really deeply triggered, and it's only just starting to bring to light some of the beauty that's under that, but There was no fixing it. There was no shifting it. There was no point going into, oh, it's because of da 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 da, which I did to start off with, because it's like, wow, what's going on here? It was about going within and feeling it, hand on heart, and just breathing through, allowing myself to acknowledge where I was and just breathing through that. And that really feels quite important this week, that we just stop, pause, feel. So, you know, we have the fight and flight, and we have the freeze and the fawn. And the freeze and the fawn are often seen as quite negative connotations of our survival instinct. However, in the wild, animals will freeze. They will play dead. They will take time out of the situation. They will allow their body to feel whatever is going on, and then they will shake it off. So this week, fight, flight, whatever is occurring for you, take time, feel into it. What do you need to do to shake that off? It could be singing, dancing, journaling, speaking out, doing some Instagram posts that just relate to where you're at, whatever, you know, really using social media for a chance to express yourself. Which brings me on to the next thing. I hadn't realised actually. A lot of my social media has business posts, because it's who I am. My business is who I am. It doesn't matter if I'm mopping floors or doing sound baths. This is who I am. It's all relatable for me. All the signs, all the synchronicities, all the rituals, all the ceremonies, they're part of life. And then a lot of my social media posts will have absolute crap on it. You know, opinionated, judgmental. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling. And I'm very aware I'm walking a fine, nice edge. I'm very aware that it's not a business account, and I'm very aware that it's not just a personal account, that it's the middle road between the two. I'm very aware that's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm also very aware that it is an authentic space for me to create and express who I am on a multitude of levels. That is going to come to the forefront more for some people, particularly based on the type of work that you do. If you are in a employment, whether it's, you know, self-employed or for an establishment where you are helping others to be their self, to create from a level of being authentic and, you know, where they're at, the same goes for you. Yeah, people understandably want a deeper connection. They want to see that we are walking the path. They want to see that we're really connected to what it is that we offer, that it is part of us, in particular employment. So over the next few weeks, I highly recommend sharing a bit more of who you are. Now, I know that that can cause a few boundary concerns, a few triggers, a few, actually this is my private life, and absolutely everybody's different. What I would suggest is meeting people where you want them to meet you. Okay, so if you want people in your work life to be more open and more willing to connect and go the distance, mirror that. If you want in your romantic relationships people to be more open, more vulnerable, mirror that. Take responsibility for the world that you are trying to create by doing your part. Or not, as the case may be. It's going to be individual and unique. So on that note, yes, okay, so that brings me into the Christ energy. I will read the cards. That brings me into the Christ energy. This is a beautiful deck by Amanda Ellis and Jane Delaford Taylor. This belief that spirituality, that meditation, healing, that we've all got our shit together, that everything is perfect, that you know, the good girl, the good man, the good non-binary, the good soul energy is the only energy to get behind. It's unrealistic. It's incredibly inaccurate, and it's almost degrading to the human experience. We assume that Jesus didn't struggle. We assume, you know, that certain saints and figures throughout time have always known and always trusted and always had hope and belief, and it's putting other energies up on this pedestal, mastery comes from experiencing things. It's mastery of the self. So whatever you're going through right now, it is part of mastering who you are. No one is suggesting that you cut it out. Far from it. Yeah, no one is suggesting that you start taking chunks out of yourself and making yourself into holy cheese. Far from it. Bring it back to wholeness and completion of knowing sometimes we're twats. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we struggle and we doubt and we fall and we question, and that's part of the beautiful process of experiencing life. If we could take that pressure off ourselves and off each other, then maybe, just maybe, we are embodying a deeper sensation behind the Christ consciousness of that open heart of whatever is going on, whatever we are experiencing, whatever we are seeing or feeling, as the foundation. Okay, so anything else? I'm looking at the shamanic deck. I am going to read the cards. Just look at the boxes. Yeah, this week literally it does what it says on the tin. Okay, so just looking at something for what it is, feeling into what you get, and believing that message, trusting that message. That's really quite important as well, because, you know, particularly when it comes to triggering, we can get really caught up in the it's all about me, it's all stuff I have to fix, it's all stuff I have to heal, and to an extent we have to take or not responsibility for ourselves. But there can be situations, you know, one in particular I had over the last 24 hours, where you think something's off with this, something isn't right with this, and actually what I'm seeing is what I'm seeing. Next week, I start to pass on the Moon IQ rights for the second intake, which is such a fucking honour. And we are going to start with the first 3 rights. After that, we're going to move on to things like the Seer's rights. And what I'm going to do by passing on these rights is help these individuals to really evolve their own energetic blueprint. And part of that includes our vision. When we receive the Seer's rights, it's not just about seeing into the future. It's not just about reading destiny and things like that, or energies. It's also about seeing things for what they are, which can be incredibly painful, particularly if we feel like we've moved on from certain things, we've healed certain things. We get caught up in this, oh, I thought I'd fixed that. It's that whole fixing feeling, right? I thought I'd got rid of. I thought I'd made better. So much judgment there, yeah? By accepting that sometimes things happen, by accepting sometimes we feel things, is that not healing it? Anyway, whole other tangent. We can maybe do a video about what healing actually is, and the restoring of balance to the body and completion and wholeness. But with the Seer's rights, it's about connecting the heart to the vision. And again, there's that belief that everything's hunky-dory and everything's rose-tinted glasses. The Seer's rights is about seeing what is going on. How can we create any change if we're not prepared to see what is going on at the level at which it's occurring? Which is what I can see on this book, on this box. Okay, those 2 eyes, that image, yeah, that image. And now we're going to do the reading, because I'm being drawn to the final deck, which is also the first deck. A full circle this week is actually potentially there, applicable to us all. If we can look at the radiant light that comes from this journey, from this whole complete turn of the medicine wheel, from this seeing everything for the first time, from this fool's hero's journey. So a post today I shared about the hero archetype and the shadow aspect of that, and how we can try and save people. And for me, that's probably the medicine that's come out of the whole situation. If I go beyond the triggers, the feelings that I had underneath it all, it was about being okay with not saving this situation, being okay with saying that's not mine. Actually, you know, sad that you feel that way. If there's anything I can do to help, great, but that's actually not mine and inaccurate for where I'm at. Full circle for me. That's something I've always struggled with. It's the whole hero complex, saving people, rescuing people, helping people. The more shadow aspect of this Virgo new moon, to be of service. To be of service isn't to do it for people, it's to help people do it themselves, right? So that's my medicine from this trigger, which I wouldn't have been able to even acknowledge if I hadn't sat with it, thought into it, felt it, acknowledged what has come to the surface to be seen, my own journey with this as well, my own wounds with this, created with it, and then finally brought it home by extracting the medicine or the gold from it, ensuring that it's not fool's gold, or maybe it is fool's gold, yeah? Maybe it is about that complete journey, the fool's journey. Found in every famous story, from Star Wars to, well, you name it, the Barbie film. It's the fool's journey for those that have seen it. But it is about coming full circle this week. What have we discovered on this path that we have walked, and what are we going to take forward? Because each archetype evolves, including the fool. It doesn't remain the not knowing character that is just blindly wandering through life. It becomes the master of knowing, but knowing that we know nothing actually. Okay, being open to infinite learning, continuous learning, including with our wounds. It's very difficult when something rises again, especially if we're going to see it from where it was, especially if we're caught in a traumatic response to that, or a familiar response to the trauma, fight or flight. Maybe this week, if we pause with it and truly see where it's coming from, am I in that situation anymore? Is this occurring anymore? Is it in my present moment? What have I discovered from that? How can I now heal that by bringing it back home to myself? If purely simply by seeing it for where it is for the first time that it's happened. And there's something there, there's a confusion there, there's a lack of being able to get our head around that, and that's the answer. It's not about the head anymore, it's about the body. We have many bodies, intellectual bodies, spiritual bodies, physical bodies, emotional bodies. We have lots of bodies, and we can shift something in our mind. Yeah, I know. Why do I keep doing this? I know. Emotionally, we can be okay with it. Spiritually, we can link it to a million past lives and find whatever story that we need for it. Energetically, where are we at with it this week? Seeing it for a brand new experience, and I know that's difficult. Or can be difficult. So finding a way where you feel safe enough to do that, finding a way where you can lighten that up in a vibration that makes you look forward to it. Yes, we can look forward to discovering these things about ourselves. It's that curiosity of the fool. What is this about? Easier said than done until in the moment. So you make sure that you've got what you need in order to do that. And that is going to be different for everybody. A way to shake it off. Okay. So, energies this week. How is the universe going to help us? Is the universe going to help us this week? Always. Again, I know that can feel very flippant, and I'm incredibly aware of the Christ energy and whether or not we're ready to receive the acknowledgement that there is support there. There's always support there. There is love there. How open we are to that, how vulnerable that can make us actually feel. Sometimes it can be easier to be angry, and we call it anger, it's emotions at the end of the day. So again, just as if it was anger or joy, finding a way to embrace that, to experience that, to create with that. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. It feels tiring, it feels emotional, feels like there's some massive nurture needed. It does feel like it might get brighter by the end of the week. Although I can hear the word jack-o'-lantern, the pumpkins. I can hear it might be from now until Halloween actually that things start to shift. I'm also very aware of the solstice, of the equinox at the end of the week. Okay, so there's a lot of awareness of things that are going on, and I can see in my mind's eye a sand timer, and it feels like it's running out really, really quickly. So we're going to pause, we're going to sit with where we are, and we're going to ask how we can best navigate the energies. Yeah, so we have strength at the bottom of the pack, And it is about acknowledging how we individually can best navigate these energies now. It's not about us closing that down. It's about us listening to what is rising within us to be heard. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, overall. So all I keep feeling into is the fact that next year is a strength year, and it feels like next year, it'll be okay, next year, or where do I want to be by next year, or hopefully things will change by next year, and there's a lot of emphasis on next year. And it's causing mental anxiety. It's causing mental anguish, this running ahead, this I need to know what's happening. I need to know what's going to happen. I need to know what's going to occur before I feel safe enough or strong enough to do or deal with what's in front of me. Or whatever's going, we may know what's going to happen next year and feeling as if we haven't quite got the strength to deal with that now. Next year is next year. You will receive what you need in time for the time that you need it. And you already know that. We already know that. It's keeping us awake at night, and yet the answers are there if we get beyond, and it is the Nine of Swords here, get beyond that insomnia, repetitive patterns, overthinking, overanalyzing, that real shadow aspect of the Virgo moon, that need to be perfect. That's almost silencing that strength card, silencing those emotions within us. The answers are there in how we feel. Simple. This week, the answers are there in how we feel. And that, oh gosh, the moment I say that, it's like this huge pressure wants to come down into my crown chakra and just sit me down with that. What? Hey, what? So what I'm feeling is what I need? What? Really? Yes. Going into what you feel this week is going to be key. On the Monday, we have the Three of Cups, and we do have that, I want to say that birth, that celebration. It doesn't feel that way because we're not quite seeing, if we can hold up our own creative expression for the individual and collective beauty that it is, then we will celebrate. But rather, there's still this comparison, there's still this, what have you got in your cup? Oh, why haven't I got that in my cup? You know, what cup have I got? Da, da, da. I need my needs met, you need your need. There's a lot of confusion here on the Monday emotionally. Bring it back to the underlying messages of this card. Celebrate birth. Celebrate the changes that have occurred. Celebrate the shifts that you can feel within you for the guiding contractions that they are, particularly on the Monday. And it's that on the Tuesday that's going to bring forth that change. Not just our emotions, but if we can feel into a situation from a different angle, from a different perspective, we decide what goes up and what goes down. We decide how we feel about something. We decide how then we're going to react about something. We decide what changes are needed in our own lives. Okay, so really taking responsibility for that. I was going to say and others, but no. I just felt like something just cut me off completely. No, in our own lives this week, particularly on the Tuesday, what changes do we now need? What changes do we no longer need? Are they any different? So finding the common denominator. On the Tuesday, there feels like a little bit of up, down, up, down. Oh yes, of course. Today, I literally had to go up and down the stairs. Up to get the incense, down to get the lighter, up to get the cards, down to get my tea, just up, down, up, down. It was, quite exhausting. And underneath it all, what I felt was this necessary exhaustion, this necessary letting go of trying to figure things out, and then I could just feel. That feels like the key Tuesday, and that I really sense that in my throat. I really sense a block in my throat when it comes to how we feel. No surprise then on the Wednesday that we have the King of Cups, really about allowing our actions to mirror these emotions, to allow our senses to guide us forward. There really isn't much more to that. And that's the beauty of being with our emotions. If we can truly be with our emotions, rather than trying to fix them, heal them, explain them, do something with them, get rid of them, if we can really be with our emotions, they're actually quite simple. They are our survival instincts. Yes, they may be a bit bogged under with journeys that we've had before, but if we can feel into them in the present moment, we can know where they're based on. Am I feeling that way because of that? No, not really. I just don't trust this situation, or I just don't want to be part of it. And really acknowledging that this week, because on the Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do have the 10 of Wands, and it feels like almost carrying all these beliefs, all these judgments, all these views of how we should respond, how we should act, what we should be carrying, how we should be feeling. That whole good soul energy is blinding us, but it is coming to an end. It's just too much, right? We cannot see where we're going without it. I really struggled this morning with that sensation of, do you know what? I don't want any of this. Because it did take me back to a time in my own life where, well, whatever, there's lots of stories there. But it was okay to say, I don't want this. It's, regardless, it's stopping me seeing from the direction that I want to be on, what I'm here to offer and who I am. And it was very simple, actually. It really can be on the Thursday if we allow our emotions to be the change that they are, if we celebrate what we're feeling. You know, if we're feeling something really crappy about a crappy situation, is that not alignment? Is that not truth? If we're in a real shitty scenario and our body is going, I really don't like this, great, you are both on the same page. Rather than, I shouldn't feel that way, I should be happy. With what's going on, you cannot lie to the body. The body knows, okay? And on the Friday, that brings a sense of, it is apathy. And I'm really looking at a microphone next to me. It's a blue microphone. I'm looking at the word blue and I'm looking at the microphone. And the sense of apathy is coming from this instilled sadness, actually. So what is this sadness? So I can sense my own here, which feels important on the Friday to know what is our own, and if it resonates, it resonates. I can sense my own sadness of feeling guilty, of wanting more, of things not being enough, not in the present moment but long term, and the impact that that can have on my own happiness sometimes, and my own complacency of what I actually do have, and that continuous circle of seeing it from different angles. I can also see, by going into that, I'm rationalising, I'm explaining what I feel. Underneath it all, I feel that. So the Three of Cups at the beginning of the week, yeah, the celebration of life and my feelings, and yeah, that's great, but then what? You know, yeah, this gold that I've got is pyrite. It's fool's gold. It's not enough, perhaps. One of the things I'm noticing this week, I do want deeper connections. I don't want to be in relationships where it is about what I can give all the time. I want to receive also, and sitting with that and how I feel about that. Come the Friday, particularly if we've allowed our emotions to speak the truth that they long to speak, we need to top ourselves up. We need to, restore that balance, to feel into that, to have that yearning for those deeper celebrations now. Yeah, what was, including the things that brought us joy. If we have developed, or dare I say it, grown or whatever, then the things that sustain us may have too. If we open our heart and our heart expands and we become more vulnerable and we share from a certain level or anything like that, we're going to want that reflected back in our world. We're going to want to receive that also. Yeah, that heart has become an open cavern, an open cup, right? It's going to want that to be received also, as well as giving. And by the Friday, celebrating that yearning, celebrating that emotional desire. On the Saturday, it's that restores balance. It's that brings the justice that we've been looking for, not externally necessarily. Yes, there will be the impacts of that. And yes, obviously, the more in alignment we are, the more in alignment that around us will become. And that equilibrium will be evident. You know, we can have certain legalities come through. We can have certain, I want to say windfalls as well, which is unusual. I don't normally say that. But yeah, that harmony will be evident around us based on where we're at. That can go the other way as well, guys, right? So, yeah, if things are out of balance around us, where are we at? Okay, but potentially on the Saturday, if we don't get too caught up in that and we just breathe and realign and know that our body is showing us exactly where we are on all levels, and to take time to sit with that, to be open to that, to be grounded and balanced in that for what it is, we can stand in our own truth, in our own authenticity. A lot of people talk about authenticity, myself included, and you know, the path that we walk, and we are who we are, we're real on social media, and yeah, and then I do it, we berate ourselves for feeling things. We want to be a certain way, we compare ourselves, I'm particularly at the moment with stages in my life with my physical body. Oh my gosh, I'm like, oh God, look at that. Oh God. Really, really looking at that this week. Really looking at how authentic we are being to our being. How open and honest and just and fair we are with the things that we are continuing to consume, to see, to do, to project, to become. Because on the Sunday, there is a wonderful opportunity to walk away from it. So today, there's also the grief there of what could have been, of what was, of, you know, we want to move forward. We want, for the most part, things to be the best life that they can be. We want to not feel things that are uncomfortable for us and enjoy our life. And we want this journey. But we still grieve the changes that have led us there. And that's the thing. It's not about grieving them. It's about celebrating them this week. It's not about, oh yeah, that happened. It's about celebrating them. Having a rites of passage, having a party, you know, having a spa evening for yourself, or, you know, literally going on a vision quest perhaps and leaving gifts for the earth with everything that you've experienced. That sounds really nice. I'm going to do that Sunday actually. Little gifts for the earth of everything, the deepest lessons these last 8 years in particular. Thank you for that. I discovered that. Thank you for that. I discovered that. And just leaving little gifts, some seeds for the birds or whatever, planting some plants in celebration of that. But this week, really looking at our notion of grief and the belief of loss. What do we think we're losing if we align with how we feel? I know in particular, if I'm going to be, and I want to be, if I'm going to be more that isn't mine and it's a necessity for me now, if I'm going to be more like that, I am potentially going to come across a certain way. That makes me feel quite emotional because I know it isn't my truth. But I know that for those that it does come across that way, that is their view and they're entitled to that. I am therefore potentially not going to fit in certain places, and that's a big wound for me, a huge wound for me, a huge impact of the strength card for me, you know, that silencing who I am because longing to belong. But this week, more and more, I've realised that the more I want to belong to other groups and other people, and we know this mentally, but on an energetic level, the less I'm belonging to myself. And I'm kind of getting used to belonging to myself now. So really looking at what you're willing to walk away from. Are you willing to walk away from yourself for this situation? What are you willing to celebrate instead of grieve? It's all in the choice, right? Cliche as it sounds, we can be walking away or walking towards. It's all in the perspective. It's that wheel of fortune. It's how we choose to see it. Are we up? Are we down? Are we that balance in the very centre of our medicine wheels? It's all part of the soul's journey. Okay, so the other thing I will say about the Eight of Cups, there is grief underneath it all to be held space for. This morning when I was feeling into some of the triggers, you know, when I went past the trying to logically explain it and I went into the grief of the fact that I miss my mother. The triggers definitely came from childhood and they definitely came from our relationships, but it didn't matter. I missed her. And really being with that this week, really being with that heart medicine this week is pivotal. Absolutely pivotal. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 major arcanas this week: the Strength card, the Wheel of Fortune, and Justice. If we can allow what needs to be expressed, to be heard by us. Okay, so to actually be heard by us in how we feel, journaling, dancing, whatever it takes, but really to listen into the changes in the Wheel of Fortune that our body, that our soul is asking for, we can naturally restore the harmony, the balance, the justice that we are searching for in our life, by recognizing that our feelings, they just are, it just is, being the receptacle of that, receiving them, receiving ourself. Okay, we then have one sword card, and it's the 9 of Swords, and it feels like it's all encompassing, but it is the 9, and actually it's not. We may think it's everything, we may think that it's all that we are, that our world is going to shatter, that everything is going to shift, that we're not going to know life after this, and it's, you know, this big monster, this big demon that has become so huge under our bed. But it isn't as strong as we think it is. Our thoughts are just one aspect of a situation. See that, feel that, know that. Yes, they can impact our emotions and our path and everything else when we're not aware of them. If we're more aware of them this week, we can really jump on them before they come out from under the bed. We can really have that more intellectual consciousness. So we talk about emotional intelligence, that intellectual intelligence now that's trying to come in. And it is the 9. It is the 9. It's nearly done. It does feel as if it's going back to the 8 and the 7. It feels like, and that feels quite prominent actually, because then it wants to go back to the 6. So whenever we have moments of real despair, okay, that take us to, oh my God, I can't get out of this situation, I'm trapped, which is the 8 of Swords, which then takes us to the 7 of Swords. If we go backwards, you know, that they've took this from me, they've took that from me, you know, all these behaviors, I hadn't planned for this, we can then go one step back and remember why our brain is doing this. The 6 of Swords, it wants us to move on. It wants us, our brain wants to help us. We can get really caught up in the trying to switch the head off, you know, battling the mind. The mind has protected us. That's what it's done our whole life. So it will recognize a situation that was once dangerous and it will say, oh, hang on a minute, cause that response. Give it another job. Thank you, mind, for bringing that up. I am aware I feel unsafe. I am aware that I really want to move forward from this. So what can we do about it? Give it another job. We then have a lot of cup cards. But first I'm going to move on to the wands, because it feels like the emotions are, we may believe it's that's making it too much. We may believe that it's our emotions that are confusing the situation this week and making us take on too much, but actually it's time that we see past that, that it's our desires, our drives, our ego, our spiritual that has become a bit our way or the highway. You know, we should be over this, we should be through this should have stopped by now, I've done really looking at what we're carrying underneath it all. What are we carrying? Because if we believe we've done enough, then we've done enough. If we believe that we should behave a certain way, then behave that way. If that was the case, you would be doing it. So where do these beliefs come from? And I really feel that in my right shoulder. I really feel that in my right shoulder. Deep into my shoulder blade, like a broken wing. Where do these beliefs come from? Are they yours? Are they ancestral? Are they societal? Are they spiritual? You know, oh God, the amount of projections of how you should be if you are deemed spiritual or a healer. You know, if you're a healer, like I mentioned before, everything has to be great. If you're spiritual, you have to be unaffected by these things. I went to see an incredible man in concert last week, actually, who'd gone through a huge cancel culture that had nearly destroyed him. because he was the poster for spirituality. And dare this individual have desires or wants or drives or be seen as less spiritual because of physical needs? And this week, really looking at that, where did this crap come from? Some of it is going to resonate. Some of it you're going to believe in. You know, I have certain things that I firmly believe in, and they are part of my authentic story. They are part of my values. They are part of what I offer. I will take them forward. But some, no, absolutely not. This week, really looking at that. And our emotions, believe it or not, are what's going to help us do that. So our mind and our exhaustion and burnout, you know, they're one and the same, and they're coming to an end. If we can allow our mind to stop doing the job of our emotions, if we can allow our spirit to stop doing the job of our emotions, and if we as physical humans, there are no pentacles here, there's no physical element. So if we as physical humans can come in as the vessel, as the cup of these emotions, as the grail, the yin, whatever you want to call it, and feel them physically and let them do their job, our mind isn't going to do it. We are not going to try and let our drives that are out of control guide us, or our better than, good than, you know, spirituality do it, or our views of that. What we're going to do is embrace the emotions. We're going to celebrate them, because there's 4 cup cards. We have that stability. We have that foundation here, recognizing the emotions for the intelligence that they bring. And I really feel that in my breast, my breast and my shoulder. Okay, so it's that supply and demand. If we don't feel into what is occurring, we don't feel into what we need, how are we going to create it? It's part of the supply and demand. And to celebrate that, it is by feeling things our actions take form. Okay, it is our feelings that are the very gift in the 4 of Cups that will help us move forward in the 8. Okay, celebrating that sensitive masculine, celebrating those emotional actions. Okay, so I'm going to pull one card because we're 46 minutes. It's a long old video. One card from the Mystical Shaman Oracle and one card from the Christ Consciousness. It feels important, as above, so below, right? We assume for the most part that the Christ Consciousness is very high, masterful energy, a high vibration, and for the most part shamanic energy is seen as very earth-based and very lower, dense vibration. So one is the masculine, the Sami, the Christ Consciousness, and one would be the Hucha, or the feminine, the shamanic energy. Maybe it's that we need to shift around. Maybe it's an awareness actually that they are all, you know, that the Christ Consciousness can be just as full of Hucha as of the feminine and the physical sensations, and that the shamanic energy can be just as full as Sami, as that light, you know, galactic, angelic type energy as well. If we're to be the bridge, if we're to be the bridge, then yeah, this really needs to come into light. This balance between the light and the dark, this balance between what we believe and its application to our own life. Okay, right, so let's have a card for whatever energy for the shamanic side of things. Oh, I want to. Okay, I want to. That's all I keep saying. I want to. What do you want to do this week? Okay, right. And I am just going to say it. So we have the hummingbird and completion from the Mystical Oracle. And the hummingbird, for me, is the space of the north. It's that completion of the medicine wheel, so I'm not surprised to see the completion there. But it's also the unknown. It's the space of joy. It's the nectar of life. It's the hero's journey. It's that Fool card. It's the ancestors. A full circle here of the path that we have stood upon and the foundation we are providing for others. A real chance to, you know, the snake eating its tail, a real chance to look at the healing that is required, but with joy from the hummingbird. And then in the Christ, and we have the time master to one side. With the Christ consciousness, we have relieving suffering to move beyond pain, and Thomas, that's the doubtful Thomas, I think, the mind trap, doubt. Okay. What I feel is, that point of transition, just when you're getting to that point of change, that big wave of doubt comes in and almost takes you backwards. It's those sword journeys. Remember that you're going backwards to look at ultimately the need to move forward, and allowing that to give you that strength forward, allowing that to help you move on. To relieve the suffering, to move beyond the pain, isn't to step away from the pain. It isn't to placate the pain. It isn't to even remove the pain. Look at labour, yeah? When we can go into the pain, when we can move through it, the changes are a lot more transformational. I was going to say transient, but no, transcendent, transformational. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick look. 26. And it's okay to have a look. It's okay. So I feel like we probably won't get any more out of that, but it's okay if we're not sure to have a little look with curiosity. I'm not looking to prove what I've said. I'm not looking because I'm uncertain of what I felt. I'm curious. Okay, is there anything else there? That can be okay this week. So hummingbird, despite being so little, hummingbird's a great journey. So we've said about that. It invites you to embark on your epic quest, and we've said about that. This is not the time to linger on what has gone wrong, but to trust in the rightness of the moment and take bold action. Trust that success is assured, even if you must face tests and challenges to reach your destination. Know that all will be well, because the all is in the small. Oh, I like that. See, yeah. Finding that extra detail, the all is in the small. Really looking at what is going on around you and zoning in, focus this week. How is this relevant? Okay. And then we have completion. Yep. I just want to reiterate, it is time to honour what has been and find a new form for the future. It's time to reap your harvest. Completion is time for celebration. It's the end of summer when the fruit is ripe. Celebrate. Ripe. I meant ripe, but right. Yeah. Celebrate where you are. Taking a moment on a vision quest or a ceremony or a treat for yourself to say, okay, yeah, even as a child I would see doorways in woods and walk through them and think, right, I'm not doing that no more. Just walk through. Use these beautiful portals that you have around you as a chance to initiate and walk through that process now. There is a great opportunity to relieve the suffering. There is a great opportunity to move through that if we can get past the doubt that is there. I don't feel like I want to add more to the Christ consciousness deck. I don't feel like I want to read too much into what I feel with the Christ consciousness deck. It's almost, I just want to keep saying the word feel. I feel as if when it comes to our light, when it comes to our connection to our mastery, when it comes to our emotions, it is time to see them as divine. That's what I feel, in order to really relieve this suffering. This holier than thou type energy that we have found ourselves in is what's actually causing a lot of the doubt in regards to our feelings. It's a trap. It's a trap of the mind, and the mind is doing that purely because it feels unsafe. So help it up, give it something else to do. Yeah, find the balance, become the cross in the middle of your own medicine wheel. The last thing I'm drawn to is the poppies. We have a lot of poppies that grow in the field up near where I live, and one year I walked through them, and we use poppies obviously for victory, for the end of a war, for the release of conflict, and to remember the suffering, to, we shall not forget. This week, really looking at what it is you've committed to not forget, how you are choosing to remember any suffering that you have gone through. When I was walking through the field of poppies, and I feel that in my chest, what I heard, and take this as you will, because this is who I am, what I heard from the flowers was that they were planted for their beauty, that their symbol was always beauty. You know, they've been used to ease pain, obviously with opium. They've been a source of addiction. They've been a source of celebrating and at times holding on to the battles that we have had. But ultimately, they were there to represent beauty. Keeping that in mind this week, if we are to move through any suffering, where's the beauty in it all? Find it. It's your job to plant the seeds of your own path. Take care. Have the most wonderful, wonderful week.